Cross and Trammel of Salty Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor.
Pray with me. Lord God, I just thank you, first and foremost, for being God. None of us in here are as awesome as you are, so we come to you tonight just asking for wisdom and discernment to make the right decisions to make this community better every second of every day. Thank you for the amazing men and women called to lead this community, to sit and stand before me right now. Lord, but for everyone else in this room and for this community, I pray just for your healing grace to come upon every one of us. Lord, that we find rescue and redemption in you and you alone. So Lord God, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for the opportunity to come here, discuss this community, and moving forward with this community. So in the name of Jesus Christ, I pray tonight. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go ahead and open the doors again, and if the clerk would call the roll.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Tremont?
Here.
Councilman Bastian?
Here.
Vice Mayor Silver?
Here.
Mayor Burnett?
Here. Public comments on consent agenda items only. Come on up.
Everyone, Mike Gardner, 618 Ruth Street. And Mayor Burnett, I'd like to ask that, can't find the item numbers right now. Anyhow, the item agenda approval, approval of minutes, May 1st, 2018. I'd like to have that pulled. There's some errors in there. And also, if I can get anyone to agree to it, pull item 9 for further discussion. Some questions. That's the approval of miscellaneous receivable write-offs.
Anybody else? Agenda approval?
I would like to pull item 9.
Okay. We have a motion for the approval of the balance.
So moved.
Sir. And a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second. Call the roll.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Tremont?
Yes.
Councilman Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silver?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes. Item 9?
Yeah, my concern with item 9, it seemed a lot of the elements that were being written off were because they were not, I'm not sure what happened, but it appeared one of the possibilities is they were not filed in a timely manner. So after 5 years, they were written off by state law. Mm-hmm. Are we having problems keeping up with our filings? We did not file liens against them. Was that the problem, Mr. City Attorney?
I'd have to have the assistance of finance. I'd need finance to assist me on that.
Okay. Well, anyway, that was my concern because it appeared that they were being written off because they had not been, liens had not been filed. Now, as to why, it could have been several different reasons.
Council, I'd be happy to get you a
If you would
report
get
back
me the
if
information,
you'd like to.
yeah, that would appreciate.
Tracy's on her way in. She can answer this question now if you'd like.
I'm looking at the list and it shows a lien date and amount on the list.
Right.
She'll come in and explain. Tracy, if you could please come in. We're talking about the write-offs, and there's some question as to whether how it kind of got to where we are right now.
We got these 6 items. Bob, why don't you go ahead and repeat your question?
Okay. When I looked over the different liens that were written off, I can understand why they were written off because over the 5-year statute of limitations, the state. However, question is, why were they not filed in a timely? What happened to lead them not to be filed in a timely manner?
I believe that they were filed, but the lien then expired afterwards. I believe that that's the issue. I'm not mistaken.
In
They were
other-
filed, but they're no longer valid. So the lien would have had to have been renewed in order to, is that,
Council members, I'll have to report back to you. Shannon Balmer assisted with this item, and I'm not able to answer your question, but I will get that information for you if you'd like
Okay.
to bring it back.
Just looking at the lien amounts, 290, 281, 85, 130, 364. Other than one of them, may be simply more costly to refile the lien than it would be to.
That'd be a fine explanation. I'm just trying to see
The
why.
other thing that you may want to consider is homestead property. You know, you can get another piece of paper,
Okay.
but sometimes you can't get a sale against homestead. So I'll have to bring that information back, be happy to.
We'd appreciate that.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Council, any other questions? Mike, you still got questions?
I don't know if there's questions, Mayor Burnett, it's the general comments. And I speak from a businessman in Volusia County and had been for 25, 26 years. It was a construction business, so I was more familiar with construction liens than I was with these type of liens. But my reading of the state statutes are that while these liens may elapse after 5 years, you can convert them to another type of judgment lien simply by filing some papers with the county. And I believe there are 2 10-year extensions that you can go through. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm speaking from, you know, my reading of the statutes as a businessman. Now, please hear me out here. The reason I asked that the minutes be withdrawn is that there are some errors of fact in there, and they're very simple, but they list Councilman Ford as being present at the last meeting, and they list Councilman Ford as being vice mayor at the last meeting, as opposed to Vice
Got a
Mayor
promotion.
Stiltner. Now,
Congratulations, Bob.
I would think that you would want to withdraw those minutes from the consent agenda, open them up, discuss it, amend the minutes, and make sure they're correct.
Council members, if you wish to act, and I think that's a good action to consider, you just want to reconsider those minutes.
Okay.
Let's finish this action first. Anybody else like to speak to this? Did we have a motion on the floor? I do not believe we did.
We don't.
Okay, we have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second for approval. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? I would entertain a motion to reconsider the minutes for corrections on attendance.
Yeah, I'd like to do that so we have the correct,
Let's, motion to reconsider.
So moved.
yes.
So we have a motion, we have a second to reconsider. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, reconsidering the minutes, item 6. Changes?
We have discussion now on the floor on that since you reopened it.
Not yet. Council hasn't discussed it yet. I'll ask you.
I think
Give
it
me
should,
enough time to respond.
yeah.
If you pay attention. Proposed changes?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read it as well as Mike did, but if we have an error with attendance and the listing of the vice mayor and what have you, then, you know, we should have accurate minutes, so it needs to be corrected.
Concur.
So I make a motion that we, mark the absence from the meeting
Make sure
Excuse
Scott's
that.
listed as a vice mayor.
and remove my designation as vice mayor.
May I have a second?
Second.
Anybody else like to speak to this? Mike?
All right, now that we're discussing the minutes from the 5-1 meeting, I would like to point out that I did ask that item 7A be withdrawn for discussion, and I believe Councilman Bastian made that motion. It was seconded by Mr. Tremont and passed unanimously. When that item was brought back up for discussion, Lynn Stevens came up, basically repeated what was on the agenda form, and in a very quick manner, they were asked if there were any other discussions. And I sent you all a video clip and an email, everybody on the dais here, and I'm sure you've had a chance to listen to it. The amount of time that I was given to respond is a fraction of a second. If you were hitting a stopwatch, my guess would be you'd hit between a quarter and a third of a second between when the statement was made. Any other comments? If not, call the agenda or call the vote. I don't think that's fair. You knew that I had asked that it be drawn. You knew that I had questions on it without even looking in my direction. That opportunity was denied me. Had it not been denied me, I would have made some very general comments regarding what's been an issue of contention for years in this city, the awarding of sole source contracts, and not just in this case. I mean, we all want lift stations to function properly and on a 24/7 job. And a sole source contract giving those lift station contracts to one company has a lot of advantages. I mean, city staff only has to be trained on one set of mechanics. The installation probably goes a lot smoother. The contention I had was in only replacing Smith & Loveless parts with parts from a distributor from Smith & Wesson, or Smith, sorry, Smith & Loveless. If I buy a Chevy, okay, for the period of the guarantee, I will probably take my Chevy back to the Chevy dealer and have him do the work. After that guarantee is over, I'm going to start doing some shopping. And I may take it to somebody who uses a Napa part. That's not in any way going to diminish the capabilities of my Chevy to have a non-AC Delco part put in there, but it will save me a lot of money. And the same thing can be said for maintaining the lift stations in the city of Port Orange. There are other companies that provide compatible and like and similar of the same quality as Sanders does, and my contention is competition is always good. Even if you just approve another company or two, the fact that you do that, I guarantee you will get you a better price from Sanders and Company. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, I do owe you an apology. I did not realize in moving along, and when I said what I said, anybody else like to speak to this and you didn't respond, I made an assumption that the information that was given answered your question, and I do apologize. What I will try to do in moving forward is try to give a little bit more time, and in this case, since you had asked to speak to that, I will absolutely try to be more cognizant of that. And I'll call you by name if that's the case in the future, but
I appreciate that.
I do apologize. That was not my intention.
Apology accepted. I got a little petty when you said you were sorry, and I said you certainly were, and I apologize for that remark.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Anybody else like to speak to this? Okay. Anybody else on council?
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved as changed. Citizen participation. Ted Knopfel.
Ted Knopfel, Chickadee Drive. Mayor and Council, you only make one promise. There's only one condition placed on you to sit up on that dais. It's not to raise or lower taxes or go to rollback or not go to rollback. One thing that you all agreed, you promised, you indeed took an oath to do, and that is uphold the Constitution, defend the Constitution. Now, I have a simple question. How many of you did that today? In your capacity, your elected representatives and attorneys and managers, you all took the same oath to affirm, to defend the Constitution. How are you doing it? Or is that just so many words that mean nothing at this point? And the reason I ask is because this Friday night, the News Journal is reporting that the city of Port Orange, with your approval, back on December 12th, on consent, you accepted a $12,000 grant to do a suspicionless seizure this Friday night. It's more commonly known as a DUI checkpoint. But the people that will be pulled in won't be done so based on any suspicion. They'll be pulled in at random. Now that is a legally permissible activity, but the Supreme Court made clear there was meant to be a balancing test. And I'm curious as to what balancing you did as a council. When I look back through the minutes back on December 12th, there was absolutely no discussion. It wasn't pulled. So what all work did you do in approving this DUI checkpoint for Friday night? Now, the residents of this city, under our Constitution, have rights. And it would seem to me that the defense of the Constitution you should be most concerned with are those areas that are under your control. Police action being one of them. Now, are you or are you not going to advise the citizens of their rights should they be caught up in this dragnet Friday night? They do have rights, but do you want any of them to know those rights? If so, let's start enunciating some of them. How about the police? Are we going to encourage the police to be sensitive to the rights of the individual? Or are we going to allow the police to try and bait them, trap them, trick them? So I ask you, council, what all are you doing to affirm your oath to uphold the Constitution, including, or more particularly, the rights of citizens under that Constitution? I'd sure like an answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Gardner.
Yeah, Mike Gardner, 618 Ruth Street. I want to congratulate you guys on putting off Mayor Johansson's pay raise until the next budget cycle.
Mayor.
So,
Manager.
what did I say?
You said mayor.
Mayor, ooh. don't write that down in the next minutes. Yeah, Manager Johansson's raise. And, you know, that eliminates a lot of this stuff that we go through, like having to cancel a spay, neuter, and release cat program in order to fund something else. We don't have to do that by putting it off to the next budget cycle. But since we are getting into the budget, something that never seems to be properly addressed as we're going through this budget procedure is it's a big nasty fact on the table flopping around like a fish called a balanced budget. And unlike the federal government, municipalities and states and counties cannot print money to cover money that they spend. They have to get that money from somewhere else. So anytime this council spends money for anything and doesn't also specify where a concomitant saving is going to come from in the budget, you have essentially agreed to raise taxes. And we never bring that up. Now, by granting the mayor a raise next year,
The manager.
The manager. I'm sorry. You should run for mayor.
They don't make enough.
This is true. There's a very pitiful amount paid to the council as opposed to the manager, but he does a lot more work. He really does. In fact, he's relieved you guys of a lot of work since he took over. I mean, you no longer have to worry about professional contracts. You no longer have to worry about contracts under $25,000. A whole bunch of things that he essentially does now that y'all used to have to think about. But this idea that we can spend money without increasing taxes is something we don't talk about. So honestly, when you guys start talking about spending money, I'm going to come up here and talk about that fish flapping around on the table that everybody's trying to ignore, which means if you spend money, you got to raise taxes, unless you also find a way to save money in some other area. And I never hear that talked about. Thanks.
Thank you. Council comments. Why don't we start on this end with you, Drew?
I'm good tonight.
We know you're good, but do you have any comments?
Nope.
All right.
I
Scott?
have nothing for you tonight.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Well, I'm going to start with this side all the time. Chase?
Just one thing, Mayor. Mr. Manager, I was out at the hammocks the other day speaking with some residents and HOA members. There's a concern about what's going on in front. The 7-Eleven is going out right on the back side of that. And the question is, are they required to have a wall, or are they not required to have a wall? They have some sort of vegetation, and can you give me enlighten me on why they don't have to have a wall to barrier between them, but across the street at the BP did?
So just so we get done with the us's and the theys, there's a subdivision or a multifamily home, about 8 homes on one side, and then abutting it is where the new 7-Eleven is going. According to the Land Development Code, there doesn't have to be a fence there. That's what the Land Development Code says. Having said that, in the Land Development Code, we're not in the process of changing it for that one person, but the 7-Eleven developer is willing to discuss the fence as the building goes up and we see where the fence is required. If you go in that neighborhood and you look, some folks already have fences there.
Right.
So I don't know why they would want a fence abutting their fence, unless they want to take their fence down and have the developer build a fence for them. But
Well, no, they've got the ditch there, of course, as another natural barrier.
Right.
I think
and a landscape buffer or
Right.
vegetation.
Yeah, I think the question is, from the folks is, I guess it's a matter of fairness in the sense that why a single family development would require it, but not a multifamily. These people are taxpayers as well.
In a lot of cases, the multifamily is considered quasi-commercial, if you will, and for that reason, our Land Development Code doesn't make it mandatory that they have a fence.
I don't think there was
And
a
I think
fence
the
there. I don't
BP
think there was a fence there when
There
the
wasn't.
restaurant was there or anything.
There wasn't.
Restaurant and convenience store.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
It might behoove the current developer to put one there for security purposes anyway.
The developer is looking into putting one there.
That's what
We
we wanna
haven't
hear.
got there yet.
Okay.
He's looking into it, but he is not obligated. We see a lot of developers that meet the needs of their neighbors for the benefit of everybody in the neighborhood. And we'll continue to work with that developer to do what's right.
Appreciate if you keep us updated.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Duke. That's all I have, Mayor.
That's all you got. Bob?
Yep. About every couple of weeks now, running into a problem with, generally caused by either infilling or by additional properties being developed alongside of existing properties. And what's happening is that the rules have changed to a considerable extent. Buildings are being put higher, and as a result, what's happening, particularly with single-family homes and even with apartment houses, the higher property is now draining onto the lower existing properties. So we're having a number of problems. I'll be bringing some to the city manager tomorrow, and I brought some to him already from other areas of the city. We really need to do two things. We have to be very, very thoughtful when community development is addressing either infilling or adjoining properties that are higher, that are being made to be higher, that we make sure that there is adequate drainage and the water isn't just flowing on. Now, I know the code does call for the fact that you're not allowed you need to keep the water on your own property, but unhappily that's not happening in a lot of circumstances. So that's the first thing, is we've got to be really attentive to that. The second concern is I'm going to be talking to the city manager and talking to council when we get a little deeper into this, in perhaps using some of our monies we collect from our residents for stormwater maintenance, to see if we can right some of the problems that are occurring out there with water flowing onto one person's property from another. So it looks like we're going to need in certain areas, in certain neighborhoods, some additional swales and some modification to the drainage systems to alleviate some of the problems that are now occurring. But it's something we all need to pay attention to because it's beginning to happen quite a bit, and as the season gets wetter, I'm sure I'm going to be hearing about it more. So, that's all I have.
Mayor, just for Councilman Ford and everybody, but we're in the throes of a stormwater master plan right now, and we'll have to take a look at that and make sure it addresses all these issues and prioritizes them right. But I concur. And as far as the individual properties that we're asking to build above the floodplain, if you will, we do have in the development stage, we ensure that the water runs off, not into the neighbor's property, or if it does, that there's adequate catchment that brings it out to the road or a retention pond. So we're dealing with a few of Councilman Ford's concerned citizens right now regarding that, and trying to make headway. But there will always be somebody that runs into a problem similar to this. So we'll be playing catch up for a while.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Jake, I just wanted, I know I communicated with you this morning about the complaint I had about homeless hanging out at Peach Valley. One of the realtor places on Dunlawton, when they went to work Saturday morning, had some paraphernalia from somebody who spent the night on their doorstep.
Right.
I know we've also had issues, and appreciate the responsiveness, particularly when we've had homeless people out on Yorktown trying to get out on the road, and because those are real safety concerns. And you know, I'm worried about safety, I'm worried about crime, I'm worried about drugs when it comes to homelessness. I know that you and the chief have had a lot of conversations about it, and I guess the best way I could describe and backing you up is continue to be aggressively compassionate.
Yes, sir. You hit some pretty good points there. Number one, homeless are individuals, and they may not have put themselves in the spot they're in. They're allowed to be in public places. They're not allowed to do everything that they may want to do in public places, just like you and I can't, but they are allowed to be in public places. Vice Mayor Stiltner brought something up 2 weeks ago that I think is very important and the public needs to know. And that is, Facebook does not solve problems. Facebook is a place to complain to your friends. If you have a complaint, if you have homeless people on your private property or on private property, you know that the property owner does not want them there, we need to contact the property owner. The property owner needs to call the police. The police will issue a trespassing citation, and that is how we control keeping homeless out of the private areas. But going to Facebook and go, here they are again, is doing, the police do not police via Facebook. They police via calls and dispatch. So it's very, very, very important that we call the police, and that's how we can get that taken care of. As far as the public areas, we are gaining support from a lot of the commercial activities in town to police their own areas, to get their carts back. Matt Jones and the city attorney's office have really given the police a lot of tools for the toolbox to be compassionate, but tell them you want to hang out here, this is a clean town, and we're going to maintain it that way.
Compassionately aggressive.
Yes, sir.
Saturday, weather pending, of course.
Yes.
I hope all of us that are available have put the Relay for Life on their schedule. That's Saturday at noon at Riverwalk Park in the River District. So as many of us that can be there to be supportive of that, we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
So if you guys are free, appreciate, make sure it's on your calendars.
I'm not free. I'll be at Palmer.
Okay, great.
You know,
Can you get
Palmer
adjusted?
No
Yeah,
sleeping in the
then
pews this year.
Working, yeah, no.
There are no pews.
Okay, fine, be that way.
Yeah, can't be there. Sorry.
That's okay.
I
We'll-
want to be. I'll be there. I'll be there. You know, support.
We know
spiritually,
you,
yeah,
this
but
is
I
not
just
something you
physically
normally
won't
miss.
be there.
We'll Scott will carry your water,
Okay.
because he's vice mayor, not Bob. So we'll cover
Okay,
that.
Good.
He can do that. Just wanted to mention the Atlantic High School was going to be playing their spring game tomorrow night because of weather concerns and the like. They were going to be playing at Karasi Park, and because of weather concerns, I understand today that they're going to move that to next Monday at Tavares High School. I just wanted to say thank you to staff for working with them and working through their issues, since their old field is no longer available to them, but I appreciate all that you guys did to work with them to make that happen.
Sure.
So thank you for that. And one last thing. Last Friday night, I had a terrific experience of doing a ride-along with Officer Zach Bird on a Friday night into the wee hours of the morning. And boy, I tell you what, if they're not busy, they know how to stay busy. And it's just like, as soon as we finished with one call, he's looking up and seeing something else. He did a terrific job. I learned an awful lot just from spending some time with him out on the road Friday night. I just wanted to share that with everybody and express my gratitude to the Chief Grimaldi. And I've talked to Chief Fusson, and I'll be doing something similar with fire soon. So hopefully you won't be creating excitement for me, but we'll see what it's all about.
Right on the back.
Special awards, reports, recognition, proclamations, annual report from Art House. That's you guys. Woo! Really good to see you, and you know what you're going to do is get Bob off the hook from giving his report on Art House later.
That's right. Well, greetings to everyone. I want to introduce our president of our board, Ron Novisky. Oh, my name is Lori Gomon-Ring. I'm the executive director of Art House.
Mayor, Commissioners, as Lori said, my name is Ron Novisky, and I live at 1320 Oak Forest Drive in Ormond Beach, and it's my pleasure and honor to be president of the board of directors of Art House Foundation, Inc. And youth service development organizations like ours are dependent on three things. It's people, programs that are fun and safe, and a place. And you all, the City of Port Orange, provides the place for us, and we're deeply grateful for that. We could not operate without the facility that you provide for us. So we're here today to thank you for that, and Lori will bring you up to date on what we've accomplished in the last year. Thank you.
Thank you. We are celebrating our 22nd year of being a nonprofit, serving the community, enhancing art education, providing a showcase for the students' art and some of the older artists, and also giving cultural enrichment. So I gave you all numbers that we collect for the Volusia County Cultural Grant. This is our actual 18th year of applying for that grant. And as you can see, I've listed every school in Port Orange that we showcase students' art. So we're very proud of that. We do it at Art House and a number of locations also listed in the report. You've seen a lot of them in the lobby here, if you take a minute to look at those. We were very fortunate. I want to tell you, during Irma, the facility was tight, no water intrusion at all. And we were very, very grateful for that, and grateful for the city for helping us clean up afterwards, because it was quite a bit of a mess outside. During 2017, we had 554 young artists showcased in our gallery, and more out in the community. During 2017, 753 people came and saw the artwork in our gallery and were culturally enriched. And in our classes and in our summer camps and the camp that we provide for the South Daytona Parks and Rec during the summer, we provided 2,575 hours of art education. Now, in the report I sent you, there was a typo, so you may want to correct that. It wasn't 25,000, it was 2,575. We also had 8 exhibits in our gallery, and we had 14 exhibits out in the outreach, in the city halls, businesses, events, and partnership organizations. So total in 2017, 2,191 young artists and adult artists were showcased, or no, exhibited their work, yes, and 79,031 people that we could count viewed the artwork and were culturally enriched. So that's pretty exciting.
It's kind of a lot.
Yes, it is. We may have missed a couple, but and I want to tell you that we're very, very excited that we have this place to showcase work, and our current exhibit is an exhibit from Spruce Creek High School, and where Art House was born. And I gave you a history in case anyone, you know, didn't know about it. And it's called Up Close. It comes from the level 1 classes. So these are drawing, paintings, ceramic sculptures, digital art, all from the Drawing 1, Ceramics 1. So it's amazing to see what they're coming up with and producing and expressing their ideas of what up close means. So I hope that you can come see it. It'll be up till May 24th.
Yeah, and on June 6th, we're having our 20th annual Fun and Funky Dinner. And this year we're honoring Senator Dorothy Huckel. It'll be at the Root Gallery in the Museum of Arts and Sciences. So I think Lori gave you all invitations. We hope you can join us. And I want to thank Bob Ford for his service on the board. He's a valuable member of our board, and we appreciate his service very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Drew?
No, I don't have anything. I just appreciate what they do. I mean, you know, the building's small, but there's a lot of good stuff going on in there, and you know, we see the artwork out here, and we're seeing it out in public. So it's
You want to
pretty.
say the little program that could, but it's not so little program.
So it's interesting to hear the numbers and actually see what is going on and how many people are checking you guys out. So I think it's really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, that's what I was going to note, was how impressive some of those numbers that you were reading off really are. But great job. Keep up the work. We appreciate having you guys as part of the community.
Bob?
Yeah. I'm impressed with what you do. I strongly support you. And it's called a balanced approach. We have a rec department. We provide a wide range of services, and through you, we provide cultural services to our community, art, and all the various aspects of art. And that is so important because our schools are financially strapped, and I understand that. Their ability to offer the art programs is compromised, and you all have jumped into the gap to provide so much more. And I'm really proud of all you do. And the other thing I can say is you really have a strong supporter in my wife.
That's true.
That's a good one to have.
Mm-hmm.
Chase?
Yeah, what you do is invaluable. You know, and Bob just touched on it a second ago, how strapped the schools are for funding. You know, with athletics, that's where a lot of the money is used up. But for art, and the term that you use is going to become a buzzword, is cultural enrichment. Mm-hmm. And as a school teacher, I see the lack of culture this generation has. But I don't see it going away because of folks like you. I'll unfortunately miss your June 6th event. I'll be taking a group of students to Washington, D.C. that week. But for what you guys do, we have some incredibly talented kids at our schools. When I walk the halls and I see what they're able to do is remarkable. And the downside is we don't fund the things that need to be funded properly there. So when guys like you guys and ladies like you step up to the plate, I thank you. So you're invaluable.
Thank you.
Lori, I know the amazing amount of work you do to scramble to find dollars here and there to make things happen, but the bottom line is when you're telling me about 80,000 people who viewed art and the several hundred of artists, I mean, that's the bottom line. You've got artists, you've got people who appreciate the art, and that's just terrific. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, make sure you don't, the tickets are still available for the Fun and Funky Dinner. Please come and support us.
And I got a feeling that's not the last time he's going to be reminding us about that.
It's going to be fun. A Wizard of Oz theme. Volusia, there's no place like home.
Your camp this summer, what is who's it open to?
It's open to 5-year-olds up to 13, 14. And it's also, The Colors of My Summer is the name of it. And every week, 7 weeks, we'll have a different theme taught by qualified art teachers from our school system, actually. So.
And if anybody's interested in more information, what's a good phone number for them to call since they're listening on podcast?
767-0076. You had another question?
Yes, I did. Do you have, what does it cost to do that?
$100 a week, and they get 15 hours of class, all supplies, and a snack every day.
Is it special needs friendly?
To a degree, yes. Yes.
Okay.
And we do have some scholarships.
Oh, yes, scholarships.
We do have some scholarships.
Yeah, we gave out 36 last
some help.
year. Yeah, and I think that's in here too. So.
Lord, appreciate you keeping this guy off the streets and occupied.
I know. He could get in such trouble.
We're so fortunate to have Lori as our executive director. She does a wonderful job. You know, we are the recipients of a county grant. It's a competitive grant. There's about 32 organizations, I guess, that apply for the grant. Of course, the funding is based on your cash expenditures. But in ranking the grants, I think last year our grant application scored 5th from the top. So we're right in there with some of the very large art organizations in the state and in the county. And Lori does a wonderful job in putting that together and running the organization. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Board appointments, interviews, and reports. Citizen Advisory Committee for TPO, Mr. Robert Ball. You're one of those guys Saturday night who's doing an awful lot of work for their wives.
Kind of goes with territory, I think, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Bobby Ball with the CAC for the TPO. We had our monthly meeting today, and it was actually one of the shorter ones we've had in quite a while, so we didn't have a lot of action items. We did have one update to the TIP that'll come forward next time, but several presentations, and one of them was about the list of priority projects coming up, in which I was on the subcommittee to rank those, and they got rolled into the rest of the list, and we fared pretty well. So hopefully that'll continue to come forward and get some Port Orange projects funded. So,
Continue ranking ours high.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay.
That's it.
Questions? None. Thank you.
Mayor,
Thanks,
quickly,
I'm sorry.
I believe our, nothing for Bobby, unless you want to say I'm wrong, but I believe our adaptive signaling got fully funded through the TPO for FY19
Yes.
construction. So,
Awesome.
oh, sorry,
Good.
yeah, Councilman.
Awesome. Second reading of ordinance number 2018-12, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, repealing ordinance 1996-29, disbanding the Library Advisory Board of the City of Port Orange, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance 2018-12.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Council, comments? Any?
No, not on second reading.
Anybody else like to speak to this? Being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Resolution 18-10.
Fiscal 19.
Resolution 18-10 is a resolution of the City of Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, accepting proposed amendments to the City of Port Orange Comprehensive Plan and authorizing submittal to the state land planning and other agencies and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve resolution 1810.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, it's on the floor. Go ahead.
Penelope Cruz, planner. So the following comprehensive plan amendment package is a package of administrative text amendments primarily to address requirements of Florida statute, including removing references to Rule 9J5, Florida Administrative Code, which has been repealed, updating dates to various policies, minor text changes to address agency name changes, and adding the new sea level rise policies as required by Florida statute. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Council comments? Anyone? Anyone else like to speak to this? Being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Which brings us to Resolution 18-11. Resolution of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, supporting the one-year renewal to the interlocal agreement for distribution of proceeds of local option fuel tax for the period September 1, 2018 to August 31, 2019, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve resolution number 18-11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Jake?
Yes, sir. This is on the local, the gas tax that we've been talking about. We had a conversation in one of the previous, I think, budget meetings that there's a lot of taxes and assessments, and speaking of things during the half-cent sales tax, that we didn't want to get mired down in all these taxes. So the city managers got together and decided that it would probably be in the best interest of most of the cities to approve the interlocal agreement for a following year and look at restructuring, or at least the options for restructuring next year. Cities with the majority of population have to sign the interlocal agreement for it to be adopted. If enough cities don't sign to the point where the majority of county population would not be covered under the interlocal, then the formula reverts to the state formula. The state formula distribution is based on the percentage of roadway expenditures for the last 5 years, and our rough figuring estimates that we might lose around $500,000 if we revert back to the state formula. So the interlocal right now benefits us, we think, to the tune of about $500,000 over the default.
Even though it doesn't benefit us the way it should.
You can put a stake in the ground if you
Right.
want for the
Right.
500K, but absolutely.
Well, I know you and me and Alan have talked about this, and I know Alan's done a lot of work on different things that might work and might.
And there are a lot of people that are amenable to those conversations, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of
If this were the 5-year
round table
renewal, I
folks.
think this would be time to roll up our sleeves and fight. But
Yes, sir.
this 1 year allows us to do it a little bit more subtly.
Yes, sir.
Questions? Comments?
Yeah, I'll make a comment. I understand the rationale. If more than, well, Port Orange is about 10% of the population. So I don't think, we imperil it, but if anyone else does with us, it makes it problematic. And I understand the problem, understand why it's occurring. However, what they've done is so odious. I will vote against it. And by the way, feel free to vote for it for grounds that it's probably the best option we have at this point. But I don't think we can ever allow this to go through on a unanimous vote. It is just so odious what they did to us.
They, the county?
Everybody together.
There are winners and losers in this, no doubt about it.
And we lost big time on this one.
Problem is that we lost a long time ago, and then we've been.
They refused to listen to us at all
Yeah.
the last time, because what we lose, they gain. So it's a zero-sum game. It's just wrong. There is absolutely no rationale for the distribution of money other than they didn't give it to us and they took it. Period.
Other comments?
Well said.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anybody else like to speak to this?
Ted Knopfel, Chickadee Drive again. We got screwed over in this deal, to be clear, 15 years ago. because of lack of transparency in government. This was a manager-arranged deal in 2003, and Port Orange has paid a price for it ever since. Now, 5 years ago, Port Orange voted against this renewal, and I would certainly hope, on principle, and I would certainly hope here tonight you vote against it on principle. It's all well and good to say, oh, in the next year we'll work on it, we'll make it better and more equitable to Port Orange. It won't be made more equitable to Port Orange, because Port Orange's gain will be someone else's loss. And you only have to look at the percentages for the rest of these cities that are nowhere near as big as Port Orange, who are enjoying a disproportionate share of this revenue. So again, I would encourage you to vote against it. But the thing that really piqued my interest here is the commentary to go with this thing here. We're all currently working together on the possible infrastructure sales tax. So we're all working here against the taxpayer. Is that the idea? We're going to try and talk the taxpayer into increasing his own taxes with a sales tax increase. Now, you all up there had a great a scam going with the vote that you had, your unanimous vote, and you told the people, well, all I'm voting for is to put it on the ballot and let you decide. But Deborah Denny's brought that story to a screeching halt when she said, oh, no, we're all in this boat together. We're all on board with increasing the sales tax. And that's how that went into the history books. So, gentlemen, I'm distressed with that vote that you did when you approved putting that on the ballot. They don't need your approval. They never needed your approval to put that on the ballot. That was a county initiative, and they don't need your approval. Just as you can put things on the ballot of a city nature, you don't need the county approval. So it was nice the way you tried to spin that, but that's not what was really going on, as she pointed out. So again, on this one issue, I would encourage you to vote against it here tonight, as you did 5 years ago. And as regards that sales tax increase, a consumption tax may well be an improvement, but only if it replaces an existing tax, never in addition to, should you ask the people to vote against their own best interests. You represent the people, after all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Back to us. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
No.
Councilman Tremont.
No.
Councilman Bastian.
No.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
No.
Mayor
No. City Attorney comments.
Council members, I've added an item to the agenda tonight to alert you to the evaluation process for the city attorney.
Is it May already?
It is. It is. Seems like we were just...
How did we get here?
We were just
Blinked.
working on this. So for next year, I'd like to get a short conversation with you to identify some of the areas you would like to emphasize for the coming year, so that we can set some targets in order to proceed effectively. I'll then follow up with an evaluation form for you and a self-evaluation that can go along with that. And then we can set some individual conferences to talk about the evaluation, and then of course we'll schedule it for a city council meeting to round it up. If you would like to change or adjust that process, I'm open to any requests.
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing more? I have nothing more.
Yeah, I think that's... City Manager comments?
Yes, sir. I would like council's consideration tonight to unfreeze the remaining frozen personnel hires that we agreed to freeze in October. There are some Parks and Recreation. Lynn, do you have one? No. Parks and Recreation, athletics that we would like to unfreeze and start getting ready for this summer. The budget looks sound. We've made the necessary cuts, and we're ready to move forward.
Questions?
No.
Jake, if that's unfrozen, there's plenty to cover because it was frozen for so long, correct?
For this year, yes, sir,
Okay.
Councilman Bastian. But next year, which we had added that when we did the budget workshop.
Correct.
That was in that budget as we thought it would eventually get unfrozen this year.
Okay.
So that was included in that speculation when we did the budget workshop.
Any other questions? May I entertain a motion?
I move on Jake's recommendation to unfreeze the positions for the remainder of the year.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any comments?
Heading off on Chickadee Drive, are there any numbers to be passed out to go with this this motion?
Mayor, they were passed out with the budget originally, and we agreed to freeze them at that time. They still remain in the budget. They just haven't been hired yet.
And what are the implications? What's the cash implication to do what you just requested?
That's also in the budget, Mayor. It's all in the budget. It's been in the budget. We just haven't hired those people because you asked me to not hire them.
Mayor, it would certainly be my suggestion here tonight that before you take the vote, you review the numbers once again. Thank you.
Councilman, back to us. Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
No.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-1.
Mayor, I have 2 other items. I would like to just ensure that the public is aware, we've been talking a little bit about budget, and I'm sure there's more coming, that in part of a balanced budget, the taxes are not the only source of revenue, and so some of our other revenue sources have been dwindling through the years, and we don't have a lot of things that we can control to make up for those differences in revenue. Some of them go up a little bit as well. So I'd like the public to know that taxes are not the only revenue source the city gets. And the same thing with roads and infrastructure. No matter how we get that money, federal and state revenues for those things, we still get grants, but the grant money is dwindling. And we fight harder at the TPO to get road things, and most of those are new. But you got to keep in mind that my infrastructure projects that Lynn and I and the team work on can't be done without some form of revenue. So those are 2 things that I'd just like the public to be aware of. That's all I have.
Make for some very interesting budget workshops.
You bet. Yes.
Anything else?
That's it, sir.
City Council Committee reports. We heard from Art House, so that gets Bob off the hook for one, seeing he's been on vacation for a little while anyway. Welcome back. Port Orange South Daytona Chamber, they've got eluded me. One of those things. Tasteful Affairs coming up on Thursday, May 31st from 5:30 to 8, showcasing the best local restaurants and caterers. So get your tickets from the chamber. I will not be able to be in attendance. I've got another event that night. So if there's anybody else here that wants to go, feel free. It's a wonderful event. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's a food event. So I counted on Drew.
I'll be there.
That was a given.
Drew and I will be there.
Chase, First Step Shelter.
Yes, we're in the process of interviewing for our executive director position. We had it narrowed down to 7 and then 6, and then several dropped out. And we have 4 interviewees, 2 of them out of town. The 2 locals really knocked it out of the park. Between Mary Bonner, who's a Port Orange resident actually, and Mark Gialis. Both of them were first class. And if a vote had to have taken place that evening, we would have selected Mary Bonner. She was my choice, first choice from reading the resumes. She really is first class. Then Mike Panagio, CEO of DME, he suggested hiring both of them, and he would offer to pay for the other person's salary. I don't know if that's in perpetuity or just a year, but that's something that we're certainly considering because of the different set of skill sets that both of them bring. They're both extremely talented and bring a whole different range of skills to the table. And, I mentioned at the board meeting, our number one goal is to fund it, and to where it's viable without municipal support. I think municipal support will always be there somewhat, if only for compliance purposes, but nevertheless, we need it to be viable. And those two really brought a lot to the table. I don't foresee it being 2 executive directors. You're gonna have to have 2 different defined roles. But if you've got one free worker, free as in DME flipping the bill for it, if you can do that and double your results, then it's certainly worth considering. So that's where we're at now. We have follow-up interviews. We're supposed to have them today, actually. They were not available, so we've been working with everybody's schedule, and we're set to meet at the end of this month, and we'll figure out where we're going to go from there. But that's the interesting update, is what's taking place right now.
Okay. I am going to add one because the Mayor's Roundtable went a couple months without meeting, and then yesterday today's Tuesday. Yesterday we met again for the 3rd time in about 6 weeks. The primary topic was talking about the school security provisions. The Sheriff's Department, in conjunction with the county, in conjunction with the school board, has worked a plan, and you probably read some about it in the paper this morning, about how they're going to continue to utilize school resource officers in the high schools and middle schools, and hire basically their own type of security for the elementary schools, so they can come into compliance. It's going to be a challenge to get it done and get it staffed in time, but I think that they have come to some kind of agreement from a cost standpoint. I was concerned because when we start chipping in, we got 10 schools in Port Orange. Of the 70-some odd schools in the county, we got 10 here. And if we took everybody off the street, we still wouldn't be able to cover our schools on a lot of days. And there'd be nobody on the street.
Yeah, we can't
so
do that.
For our part, as much as Daytona does it, I think we do it even a little bit more, making sure that we have a presence at the beginning of school and at the end of school every day at all our schools. They've got a lot of challenges, not just with making sure that they have adequate security, but one of the questions I raised is I think that having somebody, an armed security person on campus, is only part of the equation, because the campuses vary in age and layout. One person covering all that ground, the hardening and making sure there's one entrance, one exit point in all these campuses is continuing. That was an element of the half-cent sales tax renewal for schools. A quarter of that was for school security, so they're well on their way with that. And still, they're only halfway done with the schools, and we'll be only halfway done by the time school starts. So I think the hardening of the campuses and the continuation of that, they're working on that. But I think that's just as important an element, because you can have somebody on a campus, and if there are multiple access points, there are no guarantees. So it was, I thought it was an informative presentation by the school board. I'm glad to know that they're getting innovative and looking at different ways.
We're not going to
trying to get it done.
We're not going to be forced to fund our officers in the schools, are we?
No.
Okay.
As of now, no. I do believe that our commitment to making sure that we're there for them and working in contingency. I know that we've had our police force, our guys and girls have walked the campuses a number of times, so that we'll continue to do those things in cooperation, so they're familiar. If there's a call, they know where to go and what to do. But
and the chief and the sheriff are working with the school board as well.
Very good.
All the chiefs and
there's a high degree
Sheriff
of
Chitwood
coordination with
are
everybody.
all together on this.
I was pretty happy to. I honestly, we're further along towards that than I thought we were, so that was good to hear.
And I haven't heard any kickback on that request you asked me about the addresses. So to put feelers out for hiring folks, so we should be all set.
Okay.
Mayor, if I can, Jake, do we have on that same topic, are our police officers working with the Sheriff's Department and going over shooting scenarios at the school campuses during the summer while the kids are not out? Do we have anything?
I don't want to discuss what our preparations are, but rest assured that the sheriff's department and the police department are
Let's just say there's
working
a high
together.
degree of coordination, and so winking and nod, okay?
And Mayor, before you close, could we get a plug in for the event coming up in the River District on May 26th, Food Truck Wars, 12 to 6, 12 to 7.
Is that
May
a food
20
event?
Is that of
Rick?
interest
It's a
to you?
food event, yes.
Do you
Food
know-
Truck Wars.
Do you know if there's any judges going to be?
There's going to be 5 or 6 judges, and I'll be one of them.
Oh, there you have it.
Yeah.
There'll be live music. If
It'll
anybody
be
knows
a
Miss
little bit of-
Intent, they're real good.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, and they're hoping to have at least 40 trucks there, so should be a pretty good day as long as Mother Nature cooperates.
Can you eat that much?
Good heavens.
You ever seen his food resume?
He's gonna do all.
You know, there's
40
only
trucks.
one channel that works on his TV, Food Network. Before I adjourn,
I have that on
want-
auto-tune.
Before I adjourn, I want to congratulate 2 people from the city of Port Orange. The Volusia League of Cities every year in May scours a number of submissions for awards of service, everything from Executive of the Year to the Person of the Citizen of the Year, Public Safety Officer of the Year. There are about 12 awards that are given between the 16 municipalities in the county. We have 2 award recipients. Citizen of the Year, Mary Whitmire, I believe 37 years on the volunteer and police services as a VIP, and she still puts in what amounts to almost full-time hours volunteering as a volunteer and police service. So we're very proud to say that she is Volusia League of Cities Citizen of the Year. Public Safety Officer of the Year. It includes police and fire. There was one person that they found to be exceptional, and it was Port Orange Police Officer Kelsey Hyam. Both these people will be honored at the League of Cities banquet later this month, but pretty proud to have 2 people from the city of Port Orange receiving awards.
And Mayor, we got that last year too, the public safety. We had a firefighter get that last year, I believe. I forget what the what all she did, but she did a few
The
things.
years are starting to run
Right.
in my head
Yes,
together.
sir.
But
Yes, sir.
with that, have a good night.
No.